All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Insurance 360.
Cranking them out.
And you know what today is, Rob? May
What's
1st.
May the
May 1st
I
yet?
was going to say May the 4th be with you, but we got a couple days for that.
It's a new month. Can't believe it's May.
Yeah, we're almost in certification season.
Nah,
that's
stop. Stop. I ain't even talking to certifications.
You should see my schedule during certification season. It is it's not a fun schedule.
Yeah, I know. A lot of assistance with the training, you know, the carrier trainings, the AHIP trainings, everything else that's going on. But today we're talking about what's going on, let's call it the rest of the year, because there's certainly a lot of changes every year. We know that it seems like every time the final rule comes out, we've got 20 different things we've got to learn, change, distribute out to the agents, making sure they're doing it right. This year is no different. And then you got the new administration coming in, which, you know, I guess they're sort of kicking some of the stuff out from the final rule. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts.
Hopefully it kicks in some stuff.
Right. We got Dr. Oz. You know, I love saying Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is in now. He's officially in. And today we've got another really great guest for this time of year. I mean,
He's got a cool nickname.
Yeah, we've got with us Professor Leeds from LeadStar, the creator of LeadStar. So Bill, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you jumping on with us.
Bob and Rob, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're in the same boat we are. I mean, a lot with all the changes that are going on, and you're trying to stay up on it, just like we are, making sure that the agents. I mean, at the end of the day, we're making sure the agents are trying to do everything right. I mean, I know sometimes it doesn't feel like, you know, CMS recognizes we are trying to do everything right, but we are trying to do everything right and compliant. And Bill, I know you're jumping through all those hoops just like we are.
You know, absolutely. One of my favorite sayings, and I believe this deep in my heart, is that compliant business is good business. It doesn't just keep us out of trouble. It enhances consumer trust. And when you're an agent, that is the most valuable part of the relationship. Individuals, beneficiaries trusting you to help them make the best decisions at a time when they're presented with just an almost overwhelming amount of confusing information. That trust is important. When we talk about lead generation, we want to start that trusted relationship with our very first interaction with them, which in a lot of cases is an ad unit or a piece of direct mail.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much going on right now. I know, Rob, I mean, we get how many different solicitations for different lead generation models out there, different programs.
Every message I get on LinkedIn is a new lead program. So new lead guy, new AI driven. You want to throw all the buzzwords out there. They're all there, especially in the lead world too.
I think everyone I get right now starts with AI.
Absolutely. And you know, that's the current hook. Before it was, you know, when we transitioned from data leads to calls, it was we have the best calls, the highest intent calls. And you know, you learn to filter for those keywords. I'm just like you. I get dozens of solicitations every single day. The great thing is now, you know, half a decade into my career at AmeriLife and with LeadStar, you get to know the individuals in the business, and through outreach and collaboration and industry work, you really get to know by reputation who's doing it right and who isn't doing it right. And that's one of the things I like to provide most, not just platforms like LeadStar or, you know, individual leads for individual agents and agencies, but also that perspective on who's doing it right and who's been bouncing between different agencies, changing their name, changing their company, you know, reincorporating to stay ahead of the compliance curve because they're not doing it right. We do have that information, and we can help agents and agencies be that filter that says, hey, is there anything here? And we can also surface opportunities for those that are genuinely doing stuff in an innovative way.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And obviously there's a lot of evolution in our space going on right now. I mean, it's going a million miles an hour with all the changes. And one of the things that we just pride ourselves on, and we always have, is making sure that things are being done above board the right way. I mean, nobody wants to get in trouble for something, not realizing it. So it's really a value add. I mean, as an agency here, our organization has just always been, that compliant level of compliance, making sure that the agents are doing things right. And that's why we really like the LeadStar program and how you guys are doing things, because we know for us it's an extra level of protection. We know it's a compliant program, and you guys have some really good stuff going on right now, which is just giving solid results. The ROI is great, and plus it's compliant. I mean, Bill, I know you're probably juggling both of those things every day. It's got to be, something that works, but it also has to be something that's compliant.
Absolutely. And here, at AmeriLife, at LeadStar, we appreciate very much what Pinnacle does to focus on that compliance while balancing performance type of perspective. Our chief compliance officer here at AmeriLife likes to say that compliance is everybody's job, and we take that very seriously at LeadStar. I would say if you looked at myself and my team's time, we spend about 40% of our time on performance optimization and about 40% of our time on compliance. Those are the two big rocks that we work on every single day, because we do, in our value proposition, guarantee that all leads are vetted for full TCPA and CMS compliance, which is absolutely critical for Medicare sales. And it used to be, before some of the most recent 3- and 4-letter agency regulations, that TCPA compliance and CMS compliance meant the same thing, but now that's not the case. CMS Medicare Advantage leads are actually much more tightly regulated compared to leads for other types of consumer services. So if you're selling MedSup, if you're selling final expense, if you're selling ACA, there's a set of rules there that are set by the FCC in terms of how you can reach out to people, but there's a tighter set of rules that apply to CMS. So that was one of the things we had to do when those rules came into effect, is make sure that all of our CMS leads had the non-data sharing component that was critical to not this year's set of changes, but the previous year's sets of changes.
No, it's huge. And as we go into this year, one of the big changes, you mentioned Medicare Advantage, for us has been the SEP stuff, right? So, when we look at the way agents used to go and get leads, and whether they were, some kind of direct mail, whether they were direct call-in leads, appointment setting, there was a lot of opportunity month over month to make sales, and there has been a lot of changes in that. So, what is LeadStar doing right now? If you have agents that are saying, "Hey, set me appointments," or "We want those direct inbound leads," there is another thing to consider where they might not have a opportunity to enroll those people today. It might be AEP before they can enroll somebody.
That's right. It's changed dramatically, and I'll tell you what our solution is before I get into the details of how the solution is implemented. But the solution is, when we pre-qualify the leads before they get to the agents, we explore the new highly integrated and fully integrated plans that are appropriate for new DSNP opportunities, to make sure that those people are actually eligible during ROI, so that you're not talking to somebody who may be valuable, like you said, in AEP, but you can't really help today. So, you mentioned how things are evolving. The dual eligible SNPs have been an absolute goldmine for year-round leads, but the regulations have changed, and the new SEP rules are now favoring these highly integrated and fully integrated plans. And we think, and we've seen, that fewer standalone DSNPs are going to be available. So we are encouraging agents to adopt by focusing on those plans that are highly integrated and fully integrated dual SNP plans. And, we are making sure that the people we talk to are eligible for and in the areas that are required for those type of plans.
Yeah. And is it as if we didn't have enough acronyms in the Medicare world? What do we got now? A couple new ones?
Heidi, Fighty. Throw it in with QMB Plus, Slim B. You name it. It's probably an acronym.
Heidi, Fighty. We love it.
I feel like I just mastered DSNP and CSNP, and then all of a sudden Heidi and Fighty are coming in. These highly integrated and fully integrated plans. And yes, it's a full-time job just understanding these terms, and another full-time job to make sure that your agents are understanding that, and another full-time job to make sure that people who are generating leads on our behalf understand what the opportunity is here. And I have to give a shout out actually to our data and analytics team here at AmeriLife, because what they've been able to do working collaboratively is we've looked at some of the highest impact areas and we've identified opportunity areas there. And we've presented that information to the people who are actually out there on our behalf doing ad placements and sending direct mail to generate inbound phone calls, to generate data leads, so that they're not just spamming the entire country hoping that they'll, get an occasional bite here and there. I'm a pretty avid fisherman living down here in Florida. We've got the fish finder turned on, right? And we're finding that we're not dropping our line unless there's a school right underneath the boat.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And it is a lot more moving parts than ever before. And Rob and his team, as part of my team, actually, we created a website for Heidi and Fighty, and we've got every plan out there pretty much, right? Because not every state even is offering Heidi and Fighties right now. If you're doing business in the state of Connecticut, for example, you don't have a Heidi and Fighty opportunity. I mean, it's just not there. And I know you've been doing trainings on our separate website for that. I mean, just trying to make sure the agents know how that all works and where they can actually do SEP business this way.
There's a lot of confusion. And unfortunately, I feel like this type of learning curve is similar to CSNP, DSNP, but I honestly think it's a little bit more confusing, because you just have so many moving parts. And I think the infrastructure still isn't set up across the country. So that makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, this is true. So Bill, I mean, we go Heidi, Fighty, let's just throw another acronym out there, CSNP, right? So everybody had, I think, finally learned DSNP, and we've been doing that for years. So for us, it's almost as if we're calling CSNP the new DSNP, because where there is a CSNP, a chronic plan available, you've got an SEP for those individuals. So are you guys taking a look at where the CSNPs are available and sort of integrating that into what you're doing as far as marketing for the agents out there as well?
Yeah, it's a huge focus of ours, and it's a real opportunity for us to help people with these chronic conditions. We mentioned during the introduction that so much was happening with this new administration, and one of the things that I'm personally very happy about is there seems to be a focus on chronic disease and its causes in the United States. Now, we're not going to be able to solve that here in the next couple of years, but at least we're looking at some of those causes. But the result of the chronic disease epidemic in the United States has been just literally millions of people who are eligible for plans like your agents provide, with diabetes, with heart disease, with kidney problems, things of that nature. So what do you do, and what are we doing to generate leads to educate these people? When, obviously, you talked about the opportunity here. One of the things we're doing is going heavy into educational materials, letting people who have these conditions, especially those people who are newly diagnosed, understand that there are resources out there to help them, so they can learn more about their condition, and they can also learn more about plans that are going to help them manage those conditions. Beyond what LeadStar is doing in my advisory role here at AmeriLife, I'm also encouraging agents who are less comfortable with telephone leads and more comfortable with in-person engagements to use community events, provider referrals, and things of that nature to get to people. LeadStar provides commoditized leads on demand that are absolutely compliance guaranteed. But not all agents necessarily want to work on the telephone all day. There's a lot of agents who really find fulfillment in going out into the field. And the CSNP opportunity gives you an opportunity to do that as well, if you can get out into your community with provider referrals and be able to find those prospects. And by the way, if you are interested in doing your own marketing, the social media tools out there do allow you, while not to drill out on specific health conditions, to drill down on related and correlated demographic and identification criteria that allow you to see who's likely to have something like diabetes. For example, if you could pick out somebody who's 67 years old and recently has searched for Ozempic online, that's probably a pretty good indicator that that person might be in a spot where a CSNP would be appropriate for them. So we're applying that intelligence and advising others to apply that intelligence to get in front of the beneficiaries and prospects that really need our help.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And for everybody out there, I'm gonna fill Rob's calendar. If you need CSNP training,
send them my way.
Rob Valincius at Pinnacle does an amazing job at CSNP training. If you're not already getting yourself selling CSNPs out there, you're missing a huge opportunity, just in general, because these conditions, it's sad to say. I mean, I know there's a lot of conversation around getting people healthier, make America healthy again. I mean, I think I've heard that slogan, but the reality is that a lot of individuals have these conditions, whether it's diabetes or high blood pressure, whatever it may be. So there's a ton of opportunities out there. Call Rob.
Call me. We should have this flash on the screen as we're doing, like one of those old 80s infomercials,
For the 80s, blurb right there. And, better call Rob.
Whether it's diabetes or high blood pressure, whatever it may be. There's a ton of opportunities out there. Call Rob. Call me.
So, and I would also, if you've had an opportunity to see any of my content that I've been putting on LinkedIn in terms of Professor Leads, I focus a lot on personal brand building, right? This is an awesome opportunity. Once you've been educated by Rob and you see the size of the opportunity, for you to be putting content out there as an agent or as agency owner, talking about, myth busting videos. You can talk about the information that people need to know on this critical topic, because again, let's put ourselves in the position of our beneficiaries when they're dealing with something like a chronic condition. They're out there on the internet, most likely looking for information on how to manage that condition, right? You can be that resource. You're not a physician, but you are the person who can get them in front of the right physician, and you can provide that kind of content for them. That's an incredible credibility building exercise. And as we all know, credibility is one of the tenets of being a strong brand. Strong brands engender trust. Trust engenders the kind of relationship you want to have with your beneficiaries and makes you the most valuable agent for that person, helps build your book of business, helps retain your book of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't go into at least a little bit what we're seeing agents use that are successful these days. And I know with as much as we're using the LeadStar programs, I mean, we're seeing a lot of the agents use really two different things. It's the preset appointments, which you guys are doing for the agents, and then the direct inbound leads. So can we talk a little bit about each of the programs and how they work? So for the appointment setting, for example, right? It's pretty much, I mean, I can't just say, show up but you're pretty much setting an appointment for them, right?
It's very turnkey. So I'll start at the beginning of LeadStar. One of the weaknesses that we identified with the first version of LeadStar that launched 3.5 years ago is that it was really only focused on one particular type of behavior and persona within the agent community. And that was somebody who was very comfortable selling on the phone. We'll talk about that here in a moment, because selling over the phone is absolutely a successful way to increase your book of business and to have a very, very successful, not just AEP, but also open enrollment and rest of year period. Absolutely, it works, but it's not for everybody. And what we heard people say is, I do my best work when I sit in front of a beneficiary, can do a true discovery session with them, get to know them a little bit, maybe see who else in their household needs some help, build that local relationship, and be there when they need me, and ultimately get them into the right mix of plans that are going to help them. LeadStar didn't accommodate that. So we started thinking creatively with people like you, Bob, and the team at PSM. We talked to other people in the business and said, our distribution partners at AmeriLife, and said, what is it going to take? And we developed this appointments product. Our appointments product is very turnkey. You sign up, you give your availability via a scheduling integration into your calendar, so it can see where you're busy and when you're free. You distinguish which days you want to hold appointments on. You give the distance that you want to go to attend an appointment. You fund your account, and then we handle the rest. We make outreach to the beneficiary, or we receive outreach from the beneficiary, somebody who is interested, we think, in the services and products that you're selling. Then we go through a pre-qualification process to determine whether or not the interest is genuine. And the culmination of that process is a question where we say, would you like to speak with an agent, either now over the phone or in person? If somebody says in person, we say, great. What we're going to do is we're going to go through something that's called the scope of appointment. The scope of appointment is the legal designation of this person that you're going to be meeting with as your agent for these services. We get them to go through that process. We find that they have a tremendous commitment and tremendous intent to work with an agent locally. It's only at that point that the agent is assigned to the appointment. So there's a ton of pre-qualification that goes on the backside. Everything from age verification, chronic condition or DSNP eligibility, geographical eligibility, making sure the person is close to the agent who wants the appointment, and then all the way through the scope of appointment, which is then gathered 48 hours in advance of the appointment, which, as we all know, is a rule from 2 years ago that we all have to accommodate. Once that appointment is set, you have to show up and you have to be your best self, but those appointments are closing at more than a 40% rate on the first appointment, and another 30% of them are in a status of follow-up. Generally, we see that more than half of those close. So when you're talking about an appointment that costs $90, you've got CPAs that are very, very, very favorable. And by the way, when I talk about CPA, that's just a fancy marketing tool of how much do you spend to bring a beneficiary into your book of business. Right now, it's about $240 or $230 for those appointments for you to bring somebody in. And you've got an advantage because you've nurtured a relationship with them. So when it comes time for renewals, you can reach out to them. They'll remember you. You'll remember them. You can go ahead and you don't have to pay for that lead over and over again. They're just part of your book. It's a great program. And if I know I'm rambling a little bit, but if I could say one more thing, because there are other people out there that are providing in-person Medicare appointments. We did a strengths and weaknesses analysis of all our competitors before we got into this business, because ultimately we're not in this business because we want to make money. We're in this business because we want to make sales. So we said, what's preventing these agents from making sales? And what's frustrating them in the process? And what we found, the number one complaint amongst our competitors doing appointments was customer service. The inability for people who not associated with a particular FMO or IMO or agency like yourself to be able to resolve problems. We have a team that's here that reports into AmeriLife directly, has a direct line of sight into Bob and your leadership team at Pinnacle, that when there's a problem, we work to resolve it, and we favor the agent when we resolve that. We're very, very, I don't want to use the word generous, but we're very understanding of things when other companies may not be, and our customer satisfaction scores are very, very high when it comes to the appointments product.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And what you're saying is really what we're seeing. I mean, the closing ratios just for our agents in the program is, like you said, over 40%, which is great. I mean, these people are scoped and they're ready to go. I mean, that's huge. And that's not even talking about some of the stuff we talk about, I feel like ad nauseum, which is cross-selling opportunities and other stuff that they should be doing on their appointments anyway. So, I mean, these are working out really well on the appointment setting side of things. They're really straightforward. Like you mentioned, there's a calendar. You put your schedule in. Hey, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This is when I'm available. So they're not getting appointments off schedule, which works out really well. So we've seen really good success with these at this point.
And I want to say, this is not meant to be a compliment for the sake of a compliment. I want to talk about this as a compliment in terms of an actual impact on performance. One of the reasons why you're converting your agents and the agencies you work with are converting those at such a high rate is because of the training that Rob provides, because of the contracting services that make sure that there's no breakage in that process that your team provides. But I think the most important thing that you've done recently is the introduction of the Boss tool, because that tool gives agents a purpose-built way to organize their book. And that makes a difference when it comes to the follow-up and the other steps necessary to make the close. I've had plenty of testimonials from agents who are using the system that Pinnacle provides, from what I understand, at no cost to your agents, that have used that to boost their conversion rates. And not to mention save them a whole heck of a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time. And I'll just throw Rob out there again. because Rob, I think, just does about 15 trainings a day on
I think I
do
them in my sleep at this point.
But the boss trainings are a big part of what we do. We have standing ones that we do every single week, and then the one-offs that we're always doing. But to your point, you've got to be organized. You've got to have these management systems in place. And one of the value adds we do as a company is to give these type of programs to the agents to use them. And really, we don't charge for them, right? That's just our value prop for our agents and agencies. And it's been working out really well. There's two parts of it. There's the portal, which has got all the content in there, with the contracting and everything. And then you've got the CRM part that you were mentioning, where you load the leads in there and you can track them and disposition them and X-date them for follow-ups and whatnot. And it's just, huge to have those automated touches. That's where we talk about the AI a little bit, which is really transforming our business. I mean, how many trainings are you doing right now?
I've done probably 20 this week, and that's not even counting some of the one-offs. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think we are transitioning, I think, from the agent base being, 60 plus to starting to hit that 30 to 40 plus. And in that age range has fully embraced technology. So it's, in doing these trainings, we're also trying to help those people who haven't necessarily fully embraced it, but we are seeing the adoption rate skyrocket. I mean, people are using it and it's helping, and they're seeing that, like firsthand, which I think really does help.
Absolutely.
You mentioned, and if I could just for this, because this is a passion point for me, you mentioned the age of the agent, right? One of the things we've talked about here is what is our agent succession planning going to look like? Because a lot of agents are nearing the age where they're going to want to take advantage of a retirement, right? And so what are we going to do to backfill for that? I happen to have 3 kids, all 3 of which are in that transition period between high school and what will eventually become their career. 2 of them are in college, and one of them is considering going into the trades. I feel a lot better about my son who's considering going into the trades in terms of his ability to, take all the economic ups and downs that are likely to come over his lifetime than I do about the 2 other kids. College is expensive. You go into debt. You're not guaranteed anything. My kid becomes kid becomes a plumber. People are still going to need to brush your teeth and flush your toilet in the morning, right? I feel the same way about insurance. I think that one of the things that we could lock arms and do is talk to kids in the same way that people talk to them now about, well, maybe you want to go to college and become an engineer. Maybe you want to go to college and become a teacher. Maybe you want to go to school and you want to learn to weld and build submarines. Maybe what we should be doing is talking to intelligent young people who want to come out and change the world and help the world and be able to support a family about the opportunities that are available here. And the frictionless way that we can do that, using tools like Boss, using tools like LeadStar, just to give people a kit to get going, plus the resources you're providing, I think it's a terrific, honorable career, and you can be extremely successful financially doing it.
Yeah, no, 100%. It makes sense, and I've got a second one going to be starting college next year, so I feel your pain there, Bill. I get it. It's quite an interesting journey there when your kids are in college, but it keeps us working, man. We just keep grinding.
That's right. So the grind is very real.
Yeah. Hey, and there is one other thing I think that I really feel like is it kind of gets said, but doesn't get said. We want to talk about those there's maybe 2 parts of this: the direct inbound leads versus what used to be the warm transfers. And then we also get a lot of calls that agents are still using overseas agencies for those direct leads. So I know there's a lot in that, but you can take a minute or 2 and sort of unpack what you're seeing with the direct inbound leads and sort of what should be the best practices for agents using them.
Yeah. So I want to caveat what I'm about to say by telling you that I don't have a law degree on hanging back here. I have comic books hanging back here. So I'm not a lawyer, and everybody should always rely first and foremost on the compliance officer or the legal resources within their company when making these final decisions. But here's what I've seen, especially in the Medicare space. There is a recently implemented rule that prohibits data sharing between TPMOs, another 4-letter acronym. Let me tell you what a TPMO is for people who have heard it but maybe not understand what it is. It's a third-party marketing organization. Under the current definition of CMS, a third-party marketing organization is anybody who's involved in the chain of enrollment from beginning to end, with the exception of the carrier and the beneficiary. So anybody else who's involved in that, whether or not it's an FMO, an IMO, an agent, a lead provider, a service like AmeriLife, Pinnacle, we're all TPMOs. And so the prohibition is that you're not allowed to, without the beneficiary's permission, share their information between entities. And when the information is shared, it needs to be shared directly to the agent who's going to be working on behalf of that person. We had thought when this rule first came out that it would be that the TPMO to TPMO prohibition would allow one TPMO, let's say a lead generator, to give with permission information to Pinnacle, and anybody working under the Pinnacle umbrella would be covered by that permission. And we found out very late in the game a couple of years ago that that wasn't the case, that it actually had to go directly to the agent. As you might imagine, that broke the generation of data leads at scale, because there was really no good mechanism by which an independent agent who was maybe buying 5 to 10 leads a day could find themselves at the top of the funnel, inserting their name into those data leads and making sure that the permission from the TPMO generating the leads directly referenced that agent. So that system was severed, and it was unexpected. Now, LeadStar is working on a fix. I can commit to you that by the start of AEP this year, we will have a mechanism by where we will take demand in LeadStar, the exact agent that's asking for a lead, and we will be working with the giants at the top of the funnel to get their name populated if they want to lead. That's coming. But in the meantime, what has happened is inbound calls have become the coin of the realm. An inbound call is exempt in a lot of ways from these rules, because there is no sharing of information. It's a call that's going directly from the beneficiary to the agent, or in some cases it's facilitated by a third party, but the information exchange isn't there because the information is going to be provided directly from the beneficiary to the agent once they've made that connection. So that's become the preferred way of people doing business. Now, whether or not I can comment on specific use cases that involve overseas call centers and things of that nature, all of them are structured differently. So the key advice that I would give to people is, well, first of all, in the same way that you offered, people should reach out to Rob. People should absolutely reach out to me. And when we publish this, please put my contact information in there so they can reach out to me with specific cases. I may have experience with certain entities and be able to say which using overseas entities are doing it the right way and which aren't. But if there is a transfer of beneficiary information without the explicit permission of that beneficiary for the purpose of marketing or selling a Medicare Advantage plan, it's likely not compliant. In the LeadStar system, like I said, we spend about 40% of our time on performance and about 40% of our time on compliance. We are constantly doing audits to see exactly how the call flow works. We're using technology to help us uncover that. And if we see something that we believe violates what's happening, we have a roster of 21 different lead providers that we're using. We knock out that person who's not doing that entity that isn't doing it right, and we sub in somebody else for the lead flow. But and talked about the 40% of compliance. I'll talk about the 40% of performance. It's $195 CPA. Again, it's not for everybody to be on their phone all day long selling Medicare. But if you want to have the volume advantage of a call center with the compensation advantages of being an independent agent, we can do that for you in an hour. We can bring you that ability to be able to take highly qualified beneficiaries that are brought to you in a compliant fashion using the LeadStar platform in 1 hour.
That's huge. Wow. That's huge, man. We can staying compliant, good results, right? Everybody.
There's no gray area.
Yeah.
Okay? It's black and white.
Yeah. And call Rob. Don't forget. Call Rob. Yeah. And there's one more thing. I mean, we've gone through a lot of great information today. I think, the the rest of year, or the ROI as the industry likes using acronyms, with lead generation. It's still alive and well, still tons of opportunities. We can still help agents grow their business and become successful. So the last thing we wanted to talk about today, which is hot off the press, and that is we are officially announcing the 2025 championship event for Pinnacle Financial Services. Those of you that went to our events last year know they were off the hook, great venues. Last year was MetLife Stadium. We did Nissan Stadium. We did Citizen Bank Park, right? And Bill, you were there. You hung with us at the events, right?
Absolutely phenomenal. Not just the venues, not just the ability to interact with people, but the information and the speakers shared. I mean, the best day in marketing are those days when we have those events. And I'm not going to steal your thunder, but I am extraordinarily excited about this year's coming up because it's in my backyard.
Yes. Yeah, it's officially announced September 18th, Orlando, Florida, the Kia Center. So make sure you reach out and sign up. And Rob, I'm going to let you, I know it's tough for you, give you this kind of news you got to give, but how much does it cost for them to attend again?
It's free.
Wait, what?
It's free. My mom always said free is the way to be. And that's what this event is. It's free.
Just show up, learn, network, have a good time. We'll probably have a nice cocktail reception at the end. It's a fun place to be. I hear Orlando can be fun. There's some things there, some extracurricular activities you can probably participate in. But it's going to be a great event, good time, great location, and going to have a ton of info. And Bill's going to be there. I already know this. We talked about it already. So we'll have the LeadStar team there to be able to answer any questions in person as well. You've
positioned this perfectly because it is absolutely the best time of year to be visiting Orlando as well. It's not overwhelmingly hot. And if I might say so, all of the kids are back in school. If you did want to go to Disney, if you did want to go to Universal, if you wanted to check out the newly opened Universal theme park that's going to be there, it's not going to be overcrowded and you're not going to collapse from dehydration because the weather is going to be great. But if past is prologue and you didn't get a chance to go to the 3 events that Pinnacle did last season, if it's anything like those events, it is amazingly uplifting, it is amazingly informative, and it is amazingly productive. I would encourage everybody to show up, and yes, I will absolutely be there for 100% of that event.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Love it. Well, Bill, man, we appreciate all your time today. We know there's a lot going on. Spend 30 minutes or so with us, go through that information. We are going to make sure your information's available. So if anybody wants to pick your brain, our agents and agencies out there, we'll make sure we get that as well. But always call us here at Pinnacle, and we can also try and help any way we can. And
always happy.
Yeah, no, good stuff, man. And that's going to end our episode for today. But Bill, thank you so much. Keep an eye out for your mug. It's on its way.
I can't wait. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Rob. And thank you, Pinnacle, for everything you do for the agents you serve.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Bill.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.